slide easily and gently into the wonderful, peaceful moments of meditation this morning. Imagine how peaceful and relaxed you feel. As you settle into your chairs, you get comfortable. Imagine releasing whatever cares or concerns you have. Watch them drift away into the ethers, freeing you to experience oneness with all that God is. Take a long, deep breath. Hold that for a moment and then release it completely. And again, inhale deeply. Hold that breath for a comfortable moment. And once again, let it all go. Imagine moving from your head to your heart and connecting with Source, connecting with that universal intelligence, that divine mind that is behind everything in our world. Imagine oneness with that Source. Imagine relaxing into oneness, basking in that loving, supportive, reassuring connection. Imagine all is well in the silence. Knowing our oneness with Source, sensing it, feeling it, experiencing it, we imagine wholeness of body and mind. We imagine success in our relationships, our lives, and our world. We imagine peace and serenity, regardless of what might be going on in the outer world. We imagine divine guidance to follow each day, each step of the way. So grateful, Mother, Father, God, for the divine gifts that we've all been blessed with. We use them wisely, with joy and gratitude, to create a better life, to create a better world. Thank you, God. Thank you. and so it is.
It will come to your hand. Try that with me, please. It will come to your hands. Again. It will come to your hands. Yes. You were dreaming on a park bench about a broad highway somewhere. Then music from the Carolines seemed to hurl your heart out there. Past the scientific darkness, past the fireflies that float, to an angel bending down to wrap you in her warmest coat. And you ask, what am I not doing? She says, your voice cannot command, but in time you will move mountains. It will come. It will come to your hands. It will come. It will come to your hands. It will come. It will come to your hands. Still you argue for an option. Still you angle for your case, like you wouldn't know a burning bush if it blew up in your face. Now we scheme about the future, and we dream about the past, when just a simple reaching out might build a bridge that lasts. And you ask, what am I not doing? She says, your voice cannot command, but in time you will move mountains. It will come. It will come to your hands. It will come. It will come to your hands. So whatever your hands find to do, you must do it with all your heart. There are thoughts enough to blow our minds and tear great worlds apart. There's a healing touch to find you on that broad highway somewhere, to lift you high as music flying through the angel's hair. So don't ask what you are not doing, because your voice cannot command, but in time you will move mountains. It will come. It will come to your hands. It will come. It will come to your hands. To your hands. To your hands. Lots more. To your hands. You want to sing? To your hands. To your hands. To your hands. To your hands. It will come. It will come to your hands.
Good morning. Powerful people. We are so powerful. We forget how powerful we are. And we forget to use our power wisely and effectively. And that's why we've been exploring the 12 powers, the 12 powers of man, that wonderful teaching that Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore highlighted for us. We are exploring today the power of imagination. Oh, this is a fun one, almost as fun as zeal. Several weeks after a young man had been hired by a company, he was called into the personnel director's office. The personnel director had his application and said, "What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this? When you applied for the job, you told us you had 5 years of experience. Now I discovered this is the first job you've ever had." The young man looked at him very calmly and said, "Well, your ad said you wanted someone with a lot of imagination." Imagination is powerful and can be used in so many brilliant, life-enhancing ways. And back in 1888, Robert and Jenny moved to Victoria Island outside of Vancouver, BC. There was a lot of limestone on that island that it was just perfect for manufacturing concrete, cement. And they bought a huge parcel of property that had all of these limestone deposits, and they mined it for years and became very successful in the concrete business. Well, when that limestone ran out, Jenny looked out over the land that they owned and saw this huge, gaping hole where the limestone had been dug out and hauled away. The rock was scarred and ugly. That's what her eyes saw. But in her imagination, she saw something much different. And she engaged a very skilled gardener to help recreate that gaping hole into a gorgeous sunken garden. And she loved it so much that she engaged some other gardeners, and they proceeded to build a Mediterranean garden and an Italian garden and a traditional Japanese garden. And they went on, populating this land with all kinds of botanical wonders from around the world. And then she added sculpture, and then started importing birds of all kinds and created a beautiful oasis from this ugly, scarred hole. How many of you have ever been to Jenny's Oasis, Bouchard Gardens? It is incredible what she has created through the power of her imagination. And then in a case like that, applying the power of zeal and power and strength to make it so. Walt Disney. Oh my gosh, the imagination that man had is amazing. And when he decided to build his first Magic Kingdom, California, Disneyland, he gathered together engineers and technicians and artists and animators to help him with his projects. But he didn't call them artists and engineers and animators. He had a word for all of them. They were his Imagineers. He understood, in a way that few people do, the power of imagination. And he reached out to the people that worked with him and for him to draw that out of them so that they could create magnificent things that have gone on to bring joy to thousands and thousands of people over the years. Wouldn't you love to have a title like that? Imagineer. Who's doing taxes now? Is there a listing on the tax form for Imagineer? I haven't looked. Maybe you know. Imagination plays out in so many ways. John Lennon's iconic lyrics and a hauntingly beautiful melody calling us to imagine a world of peace, living in unity, living in love. Imagine that. This morning, come here. We climbed into our amazing mechanical conveyances to bring us from home to the center, arriving here in just a matter of minutes. And even though it's -4 degrees outside, or now it's -6, it's actually dropping, we walked in the door and we all shed our coats to relax in the 70-degree comfort of this lovely spiritual center. Imagine that. And these little wonders where we can call across the street, across town, across the world, and speak to someone we love and care about. These little wonders help us take pictures. They help us share pictures. We can listen to our music. We can look up information. We can read books, all on this little tiny device. Imagine all of the imagination that went into the creation of such a thing, and how we get to enjoy it day in and day out. Think about yourself. Think about your life. What stunning creations, what subtle creations, what important creations to you have you used your power of imagination to produce? A number of us are old enough to remember a TV show called Laughing. And we remember Goldie Hawn and her body pink and her disco dancing, proclaiming, "What you see is what you get." How many of us thought when we were watching that show that she was espousing spiritual truth? What we see in our mind's eye, that's what we're creating, that's what we get. First is the idea, then the mental image starts to take shape, and then from there it can manifest into the material world we inhabit. When I look around the world, when I think about the creative process, I am dazzled. Look outside at all the flora and fauna, the wide variety of botanicals and creatures that are out there all the time. Birds of every size and shape, different songs, butterflies with fantastical colors and patterns, flowers appearing in a palette that is unlimited. All the fragrances, all created as vivid expressions of a fertile and effective and powerful imagination. Fillmore tells us the spiritual power of imagination is the ability to picture, to conceptualize, to envision, to dream. Do you know where your power of imagination is centered in your physical being? That's right, third eye, between your eyebrows and a little bit above. That's actually the 6th chakra, and it's also known as the third eye, sometimes called the eye of spiritual insight. It resonates to the color of a light blue. And for us on our spiritual journey, as we look at the 12 powers, the disciple Bartholomew represents imagination to us. Charles Fillmore tells us it is through imagination that the formless takes form. Oh, we apply that truth in so many ways. We do it with our vision boards. We've got a wonderful vision board that we built together out in the lobby, filled with pictures and ideas of how we want to see our spiritual center grow and evolve. Oh, those vision boards are powerful. Our imagination is powerful. I remember some years ago when I was first introduced to the idea of vision boards, or sometimes called treasure maps. I started building some vision boards for myself. And I had one sheet of paper that had things on it that I wanted to get done around the house. And one of the things I put in that vision board was a set of vertical blinds to go over the door to our deck, to our patio. Well, I hadn't shopped vertical blinds. I hadn't looked at them at all. I hadn't priced them. I hadn't considered size or shape or texture. I just knew that what I had, I wanted to replace. And I put it on my vision board, and I never gave it another thought. Within a month, I was having lunch with a sister-in-law. And as we were sitting there chatting, out of the blue, she says, "Oh, you know, by the way, I've got these vertical blinds that I bought some time ago, and I'm not going to use them, and I can't return them. Do you know anybody who'd like them?" I had not said a word to anybody that I was interested in vertical blinds. But with my vision board and my imagination, I had put it out to the universe that I would like to see new vertical blinds in my home. And effortlessly, they came into my life. That is the power of imagination. You imagine yourself healed, successful. My very first spiritual teacher was a very powerful teacher. His name was Dr. Lee Poulos. He was a professor at the University of BC in Vancouver. One of the things he did in his work is he worked with a lot of people that were dealing with health issues. And one of the stories he shared was about a woman, a housewife, who was dealing with cancer. And he was coaching her through her process and asked her to imagine, wherever in her body that cancer had been identified, what did it look like? And what was it going to take, using her imagination, to eradicate that cancer? Yeah, she was a housewife. She resonated with pretty simple, straightforward things. And in her mind's eye, she could identify in her body those cancer cells. And she immediately broke out the Hoover in her mind's eye and vacuumed up those cancer cells day after day after day until they were gone. The power of imagination. And I know all of you are familiar with sports psychologists. In fact, Dr. Poulos was one of the first sports psychologists coaching some young buck who liked to play hockey, Wayne Gretzky. But sports psychology is all about using imagination. Stepping up to the plate, swinging the bat the perfect way, sailing that ball over the home run fence, hitting that puck into the net exactly where it needs to go, shooting the basket and seeing the ball go through the basket. It's all about harnessing the power of imagination and putting it to work in ways that are practical and meaningful to you. The uses of our power of imagination are unlimited. There's a story of a young man named Leo King, who in 1958 placed second to Van Cliburn in the Tchaikovsky competition. The following year, King was imprisoned as part of the Cultural Revolution in China, and he wound up spending 7 years in prison. 7 years without a piano. 7 years without an opportunity to practice and play and do what he loved and did so well. But he was eventually released from prison. And shortly after that, he resumed his concert career. And critics were amazed that his musicianship was actually superior to what it had been before he went into prison. And they said, how can you do this? You haven't had a chance to practice for 7 years. And King responded, oh, I did practice. Every day in my mind, I rehearsed every piece I've ever played, note by note. Oh, our power of imagination is incredible. Think of all the things you've already created with your imagination. And think of all the things you will create as you harness this power. But like all power, there is a caveat. We can use the power of our imagination to our own detriment. Mark Twain gives us a hint as to what this is about. He says, I've been through some terrible things in my life, some of which actually happened. How often do we engage our power of imagination in something we don't want? Think about it. The snow is blowing, it's coming down, your loved ones due home, and they're not there. And they're still not home, and they're still not home. And you can't reach them by phone, and your imagination goes off on this tangent. Oh my gosh, they've slid off the road, they're stuck in a ditch somewhere, they can't get out. Or your imagination starts to see them in this 47-car pileup, in the mess of twisted metal and blood. It's not what you want. But we let our imaginations run away with this and start envisioning what we really don't want. When you catch yourself, remind yourself, this is metaphysical malpractice. This is using my power of imagination for something I really don't want to create. Even Charles Fillmore reminds us that our sensory awareness and our human concerns and our personal consciousness create opportunities for us to envision all kinds of horrors. And we really don't want those. Sometimes what we fear the most will happen. And it's our own thoughts, the misapplication of our imagination that can bring them about. There was a salesman driving along a lonely country road late one night, dark, rainy, and of course he had a flat tire, a blowout. And in the rain he opens the trunk and realizes he doesn't have the lug wrench he needs to change that tire. But he looks down the road, and through the rain, he can see a light, a farmhouse. And so he begins trudging down the road through the rain and the puddles and the mud toward the farmhouse. And as he's walking along, he's thinking, well, I'm going to knock on the door and ask the farmer if he has a lug wrench I can borrow. But gosh, it's really late, and is he going to be mad at me for knocking on his door at that hour? And then he's going to be angry that I woke him up. And he walks through the rain and the mud and the slop and the slush, imagining all of the unhappy results of what he's about to do. When he finally gets to the farmhouse, he walks up to the door and knocks on it. The farmer opens a window from upstairs and calls down and says, "Who is it?" And the salesman said, "It's me. You can keep your blasted lug wrench. I wouldn't borrow it from you now if it was the last one on earth." We can use our imagination to our own undoing, just like this salesman did. So the question that we need to ask as spiritual seekers is, how do we use our imagination wisely? How do we use it righteously? How do we use it rightly? You know, we're using our imagination all the time, whether we're conscious of it or not. So it's our goal as spiritual beings having a human experience to use it wisely, to create the life that we want. We get a couple pointers from some wise people. In their book, How to Think Like a Millionaire, authors Fisher and Allen remind us, clearly imagine you already have what you hoped for, that you've already reached your goal. In other words, see it in the present tense. See it as though it's achieved, here and now. What does your life look like, they ask. This exercise of imagination is so effective because the subconscious mind, that is an integral part of the creative process, isn't governed by the same rules of time as the conscious mind. In fact, time does not exist at all in the subconscious mind. This is why when you and I work our affirmations, we always affirm in the present tense as though what we are affirming is here and now. Our subconscious mind that's so integral to the creative process doesn't discern between now and future. We need to be discerning and bring our goal into the now by stating what we want as though it is here and now. There's another author that tells us, don't fret if your mental images aren't clear. People think in different ways. Words, tastes, musical notes. The key to imagination is to use what works for you. And as your comfort with an imaging increases, involve more and more of your senses. If you can see, hear, smell, touch, whatever it is you're wanting to create, the more you connect with it in a sensory way, the results will be better and quicker. So how do we take all of this insight and put it into practical use? First, consider your goals. How do you want to apply your imagination? Where do you want to apply it? What do you want to create? Relax and allow Spirit, your divine self, your higher self, to guide you and to support you in the process. You know, this process of relaxing and connecting with your higher self works best if you practice it a little bit every day. We call this meditation. Get quiet, go within, sense the divine in you that's eager to express more, to be more. And as you consider your goal, as you're connected with the divine in you, focus your awareness on your third eye. You might even want to gently rub it to help you focus and to help literally wake up your imagination, your internal vision. And then begin to draw a creative image in your mind's eye. Paint the picture of what you want to create. Flesh it out with lots of details. Throw in color, throw in texture. See what it feels like. See what it looks like. Add scent and sound if that's appropriate to your picture. Use all of your sensory abilities as you flesh out your goal. And then consider, how does this wonderful picture you just created in your mind's eye, how does it make you feel? Does it excite you? Does it thrill you? Those are the feelings you want to latch onto and infuse into this mental image. And then combine your image, your feeling, and your affirmation. Work it every single day, just a little bit at a time, every day. Make it real in your mind's eye to enable it to become real in the world. And thank Mother, Father, God. Thank that universal power, that intelligence that's in you for expressing through you so effectively and in such wonderful and enjoyable ways. We are powerful beyond measure, and it's ours to develop those powers by becoming aware of them and applying them in our everyday life. We develop the power of imagination by using it regularly. We honor the power of imagination by appreciating it in the world around you. Notice how imagination, your own and that of others, has blessed you. The spiritual power of imagination is our God-given ability to discern and envision divine ideas. And we link those with the powers of things like faith and zeal and strength. We change our world. Imagine that. So let's join together and affirm once again our affirmation for the day. I claim my power of imagination, divinely guided. I give shape and form to divine ideas and substances. Imagination launches images into manifestation, changing